And welcome back, everyone. David Campione is my special guest. His website is spacioussky.com. All right, David, you've got to take us back to where we were before the break when the gangplank came down and these
beings came out. There you go. 5 men and 4 women, all between 7 and 9 feet tall, and they didn't float down. They actually walked out just like you or I would walk anywhere. And they walked out, and they told Paul he could take photographs of them, and he did. He said he did. I never saw the night. We never saw anything. He was told by them that he wasn't allowed to release them until they told him to. And of course, he passed before they maybe they never came back. I don't know.
So what we can say to that is that the extraterrestrials certainly had no psychic abilities.
Oh, you mean for long distance?
Well, no. What I was getting at, that was a bad joke because they said that he couldn't release them until he told them to, but they didn't know he was going to die.
Yeah. Well, maybe they thought they were going to do something before he passed on. So
could be. All right.
But I don't know. Him and my father and him corresponded and did everything, copyrighted and everything, the photos, and they corresponded for 8 years. But the interesting to me, which are fascinating, or the few interesting things about Paul meeting these beings, he said that each one of them was emitting a Christ light. Now, to me, that's their body is surrounded in light, like we've seen in Renaissance pictures of
an aura.
Yeah. And this is how Paul described it as the Christ light, that they were all, each one of them were surrounded, and he said they were beautifully proportioned. They weren't, they just like tall beings, like a basketball player, but bigger, and so up to 9 feet. And the other thing is they were, of course, there's no verbal. It's all mental communication. Paul was doing verbal and receiving the information, hearing it in his head. And he went and, oh, God, where was I going with? Anyway, he said that they told him to contact Michael Campione in New Jersey. And Paul's going, what are you told? Who is this man? He said, well, you look him up. He's in New Jersey, and he'll help you with getting these photographs out and the information out that you have, that we allowed you to photograph. And he said, we're from Como Berenices, which is in the M60 in the spiral galaxy of Como Berenices or Berenices. He didn't say. In fact, Rob, somebody I was corresponding with or communicating with, typing on Facebook one time off of your program, off of your site,
right.
And they asked me, well, what planet were they were from? I said, well, I don't know. I don't even know where our planet is in the Milky Way, let alone somebody that's over 400 million light years away. But it was just so strange that they said to contact my father, because he's the only one you can trust in this down here on getting the information out and that can be honest with you. And the other thing that they said, which I found was beyond interesting, they were talking, and I never saw the correspondence, they were communicating to Paul about how they knew about the Master Jesus, the Christ, when he did his reign here. Mm-hmm. And, 2,000 years ago. And he was just like, I mean, can you imagine these people they come down in this huge space, 160 foot in diameter spacecraft and from, over 400 million light years away. And they're talking about my father of who to contact. Mm-hmm. And they're talking about Jesus the Christ.
But you know what? I'm listening to this story about Paul Vila, and it sounds very much like the Billy Meyer story.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, but he was always in touch with the people. Paul only had this one encounter with them.
Mm-hmm. So Paul's encounter was like the earlier contactees. I can see his George Adamski.
Oh well, yeah. George was in the late in the early 50s.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and he said he went to Venus and on a mothership.
Right.
And, the thing that always got me was reading. I don't know why it always stuck out when came out of the book, and I remembered it. when George Adamski when he was taken from a scout craft and on up to the mothership, and they were going to Venus. Well, he smoked cigarettes, and he was looking for an ashtray aboard the mothership, and he said, "Why do you guys do this stuff down there with the cigarettes?" Mm-hmm. It just struck me as odd or funny, that these people were, he's looking for an ashtray and they're taking him to Venus.
That brings up an interesting point. Do you think that these visitors from wherever they are, do they pose a threat to the planet? Do they pose a threat to humans?
I don't believe so. In fact, I actually believe that that there are. I mean, I've heard uptolds of 1 million spacecraft, and these people are volunteers up there, and they're volunteering their service from their planets, and they're just up there trying to protect us from the. Not everybody's good up there. That's flying around just like here on this planet. You got evil up there, yeah. And they still have to deal with it, and they're trying to protect us. And sometimes they slip through just like everything else, and they gotta take them out, and that's what they do. They just laser them and they're gone.
But why this planet? Why do they want to pay so much attention to this planet, and yet they don't want to be known?
It could be because they don't want a nuclear. Because of the growth of humanity here, if all of a sudden everybody went crazy and started popping nukes over, we just have India and Pakistan are going nuts over there bombing, and they all got nukes, and then we have China and we have the Russians and God.
Well, listen. If they're that much more highly advanced than we are. Mm-hmm. And in order for them to get from wherever they are allegedly from in the first place, wouldn't they have the ability to disable any nuclear weapons that were fired by the United States, Canada, Great Britain, whoever fires the nuclear weapon? Couldn't they just disable them and they fall into the sea?
I believe they've already done things like that. I mean, I've read stories now, how true they are, where even, what was it, North Dakota? Where
Robert Salas, yeah.
Yeah, all those silos that are up there, and that they were on. They were disabled.
Well, you see, there's another story. You've got Robert Salas, who's spewing this story to anybody who would listen, because it gets him to go to different conventions and different lectures and seminars, and it's made him a very minor celebrity, who's telling the story, and yet the guy who was in the seat right beside him in the silo is saying, "What the hell's he talking about?"
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, geez, that's crazy. Well, I believe they do have the capabilities to do that. Now, whether I didn't know the man's name, but I'm just going on the information. See, you just gave me information that I can question now.
Sure, there you go.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, because you don't always find out the truth and what's going on, and it's quite possible that they can do that. Rob, and I think that's part of what they're here, because there was that one planet that's out on the other side of Uranus that I called, or my dad always called it Maldek, that they went and blew themselves up, and they're worried about this planet because we're at that stage now, or have been with the stage, that if we blow this planet, it somehow throws a solar system out, and it's endless what could happen to the Milky Way, or this part of it. And this is what they're concerned about, and that's why, allegedly, that's why they're here. I've never spoke to them. I've never been up there to look down or to see their plans. I just don't. I'm just going on what I've been told or what I've read over the years, and that's what I see.
All right, David, tell me this. My time with you is coming up very fast, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Do you think that we are close to disclosure and the end of the truth embargo?
No, I don't. No, I've been hearing this. I've been hearing it for 50 years.
Yeah,
Rob,
me
so
too.
have you.
In fact, I had Stephen Bassett on the show the other day, and once again,
is that right?
Stephen is like you, a long time good friend of the X Zone, and he's got it. I I've got to give kudos to Stephen because he just, he's right in there saying, oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And I feel like saying, Stephen, I've been hearing that for 50 years.
It's right. Yeah. I hope it does happen, Rob. That's all I can say, that they're going to come out with the truth. But, everybody's to say, well, they're feeding us little bits of information because they don't want to panic the populace. But so what? What else can you panic them with? I mean,
that's right. Hey, listen, I hate to do this, my friend, but you and I have to say so long for tonight. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, David. Always great talking to you. And Exo Nation, if you'd like to find out more about our guest this hour, David Campione, visit his website, www.spacioussky.com. David, until the next time we meet, take care of yourself, my friend, and always great pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, Rob, and God bless you and your whole family and all the listeners in the Christ light.
God bless you too, my friend.
Thank you.
Exo Nation, I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Check out the X Zone directory of Who's Who 2019 edition. It's available online at www.xzdww.net. xzdww.net. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Whatever you do, don't go away.